Hello and happy Saturday morning. Welcome to Access Machinery live stream episodes. I'm Irina Solovianenko and I'm managing partner at Access Machinery. Access Machinery is a dealer for Durma in Canada, and we specialize in metal fabricating equipment. I have here today with me Andrew Vicente,
right,
our application specialist. We know you guys missed us. We took a break for 3 weeks.
Yes.
To prepare a new series of episodes. They are highly informative and hopefully entertaining. And speaking about entertainment, I would like to pay attention to a new outfit of Andrew. Andrew, my God, you look so handsome.
Well, thank you. I mean, we're matching today, so I love it. It's excellent. Yeah, you look great with that outfit, and it works great with mine as well.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
So today, speaking of the entertainment as well, we got a very exciting episode today. Actually, I really wanted to do this for a long time. So today we're at Durma Manufacturing here in Bajeros. They work with a lot of agricultural equipment because this is a farmland area, but they also do some parts you may see, some gym equipment and etc. They do many parts here, specifically on this machine right here. So this is the HDF 3015, but what's special about it, it's an 8 kilowatt machine. Yes, 8 kilowatts, very powerful because they do a lot of plate here, and that's the productivity you get from a machine like this. On top of the 8 kilowatt, we also have another feature that's really exciting. It's called a zoom head. And I'll get into more detail about that later as we see the videos, so it makes more sense, but I'm very excited to start this episode, right?
Yes, let's go, Andrew. We also encourage you to ask questions during the episode.
Please.
I believe there will be many exciting features that we never showed before. So please welcome, ask us. We will be glad to answer.
More than happy to answer any of the questions, and remember, we do that at the end.
And before we move to the showcases, I would like to point out that particularly for Durma, 8 kilowatt power was a choice that was absolutely necessity because again of the materials they process. They're mostly heavy duty mild steel.
That's right.
So there's lots of oxygen inquired on the cutting side, and lots of stainless steel and aluminum. So this is what we're going to show you today. And let's begin.
That's right. Well, again, we're about to start our next showcase, but I wanted to pay attention to the bed here. You see how it looks right now? That's how much plate gets cut here. And we're also going to show, maybe something a little later. They have a little surprise for you. And right after the showcases, we can talk about the features, the zoom head, and the 8K. So let's start with our first showcase.
Let's do it.
Are the mics cut? Okay, I'm going to break it. Ready? As you go down, I'm going to break it. All right, so here we're starting with some stainless steel quarter-inch, okay? We have some stainless steel quarter-inch here, and we're cutting with air, all right? Yes, I said cutting with air. So, of course, I talked about air cutting before on our stream in our showroom with our 2 kilowatt. And I said something at the time which, it still rings true to this day, which is that, it's well suited for thin materials. So why am I cutting quarter-inch stainless this time? Well, because you can. With enough flow on your compressor and the right head and the right equipment, right laser beam quality as you see here, you can actually cut some very thick materials with air. So because remember I said earlier on the early stream, episode 2, if you've watched that, I said you cut faster with air on stainless. That is true. I'm cutting right now at 400 inches per minute, as opposed to about 300, maybe 280 with nitrogen, depending on the quality you're looking for. But 400, no problem on here, because that little extra kick of oxygen makes it an exciting feature to have on this. Continuing down the cuts here, you see how fast that piercing is? Again, with that extra kick of air, we have no problem here. Continuing down the nest, of course, quarter-inch stainless. These are actually Durma's parts as well. So this is the nest they were going to cut. We're not going to show the entire nest, of course, but these are the parts they were going to cut today. if you have any inquiries about air cutting on our machines, please ask us at Access Machinery. Perfect. Shuttle table comes out, no problem. Let's take a look at these parts.
The part?
All right.
Oh, wow, Andrew.
That's our stainless steel part. Take a look at that. Cut with air on this machine. So there's many reasons why this works, but it's really an incredible part. 1/4 inch stainless, cut with air, cuts faster, cuts nice and clean with no burr. It looks great.
And Andrew, I believe that if you're cutting with air, you're obviously saving money on gas, right?
Absolutely.
And if you're cutting in the industrial scale of production, it matters a lot, right?
Of course.
What would be the average saving, let's say, versus cutting traditional way with the nitrogen, like
So,
roughly?
well, the thing is with this material, stainless, you're looking at about, let's say 1/4 inch stainless, we're looking at about 2,500 to 3,000 CFH. That is a significant amount of gas because we need a big nozzle, a lot of pressure to get this burr-free and complete on nitrogen. So that is a lot of gas. And what I mean by that is that if you, let's say you go down to 1/8, you're about 1,500 CFH, that's half that, and you still use a lot of gas. I can't speak exactly for how much everybody pays in gas contracts, but you're looking at incredible savings here. Instead of going through half your tank in a day because you're cutting this all day, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You have your compressor working all day, and you got this here, right? And depending on your compressor specs and the quality of it, Daimler has a great compressor, well filtered, as I've spoken many times before about that. They're able to cut this, no problem.
Excellent. Did you use any features on the zoom head to help with the cutting?
So the one feature I use in the zoom head, I'm going to get into it a bit, is the piercing. You notice how fast that was? The piercing is so fast because there's actually 3 lenses in the zoom head. What I mean by that is that 2 lenses can actually move apart and go together. And what that does is it not only, you know about focus moving up and down the material with the standard lens, the zoom head has the other 2 lenses to change the focal diameter. What do I mean by that? You can actually widen and shrink the beam on its diameter. Why do we do that? Power density, okay? When you start cutting through thick materials, I need a wider beam because I need to get through the material and take away more of the material away. When I'm piercing, I just need to get into the material. So I can tighten my beam up, get as much power density in one spot, and then immediately move the lenses again, and then the beam widens and goes back to cutting. So that's the main feature I use in the zoom head. You'll see even more features on the next showcases I'm about to show of the zoom head as well. So.
Excellent. So for anyone who is cutting lots of stainless steel, please require. We will be happy to assist you with the air cutting. All right?
All right.
So let's move to the next showcase. What do we have for next?
We got some aluminum, and I'll explain it.
Aluminum.
Yeah, and aluminum is always a tough one, and you know it's always scary to cut. So let's take a look.
Let's take a look.
Okay, so here we're cutting some 1/2 inch aluminum. I said aluminum earlier, and this is always a difficult one. Why? There's a lot of things going on here. So, you know from the CO2 days, aluminum was always the frustrating material to cut because your beam quality you needed to maintain. It needed to be perfect, and it has to be maintained the entire time. Piercing here is very quick again. I just talked about on the stainless, of course. On the zoom head, we tighten up the beam so we can get through the material. So that feature helps us pierce through. Then, of course, the brute force of an 8 kilowatt allows us to get through this material no problem. We're cutting at about 80 inches per minute right now. We're using nitrogen. We are actually using a zoom feature here, though. So on a regular fiber machine, the beam is very tight and very focused. Great for thin material, no problem. Now on the zoom head, when we go to aluminum, this material is so thick I lose power density about halfway down the material. And what that means is that aluminum very quickly loses the cut if it doesn't have what it needs to get through, the power, that is. So by widening the beam, we get more of that density through the material. With more of that density through the material, we now can get through better. The entire power is now carried right through the material without losing its density, giving a very stable and consistent cut. You'll also see soon that the cut quality is just an excellent cut quality. Continuing to cut through this material right now. Perfect. It looks good. Still stable here, as you can see. You don't have to deal with the frustrations of instabilities on CO2. Continuing on the material here. Look at these parts. Perfect. They just fall right in. Errors very minimal on this. All right, so we got an aluminum part right here, okay? And this is the half-inch aluminum part right here. It's like a little mini channel here, as you can see, a little bracket. And this part looks absolutely amazing. Now, I know there's a few burrs on there, of course, but we're talking half-inch aluminum. Usually this would be way worse, or it'd be so thick it would be on stilts with that.
Yeah, usually when you take right after cutting it apart from the laser, it's going to have lots of burr, and you have a very good chance of cutting your skin. So,
be careful.
Yeah. Well, amazing. And again, zoom head.
That's right.
Help you a lot, I believe, in this, right?
Yeah, because again, with the focal diameter, we're carrying that power through the entire cut. With half-inch aluminum on regular fiber systems, we're starting to lose that power on the beam about halfway through. And you could brute force it by turning down feed rate, but feed rate's the last thing I touch. That's your productivity right there. So with the zoom head, we can bring those speeds back up because our power is maintained through the cut.
Andrew, if you, let's say, compare cutting speed on a fiber for the half-inch aluminum to CO2, what would be the difference on cutting speeds?
Well, on a CO2, let's say an equivalent, I mean 8 kilowatts, a very big CO2, but let's say equivalent CO2 system, you're looking at about maybe 35 inches per minute as opposed to about 80. Big, big difference, not just because of the fiber beam density, but also that zoom head as well, which is not really possible on a CO2. You can't get it small enough. Only the fiber is able to get small enough to start playing with it.
So we can manage cuts 2.5 times faster?
Easily.
Versus cutting on CO2, same part.
That's right, perfect.
Here
it's
you
a
go.
good looking part. So
Yes.
aluminum is excellent.
Okay, and I think right now we're moving to the most exciting showcase because it will be
some thick steel.
very thick steel. If it's a 1 inch, it's always paramount for all the lasers.
Is commonly used as that benchmark to measure laser performance in the plate cutting realm, of course. And 1 inch is a challenging material to do, not only because it's, well, very thick, but it's also because a lot of things have to be well balanced to get through that and get a decent quality cut. Of course, you could slow down the feed rate and blow through, but you're not going to be very happy. I mean, you don't buy a laser to get plaza quality results. You want to exceed that, and that's what this capability here with all this paired together can do on 1 inch. So instead of me just talking about it, let's show it.
Let's show it. Yes.
One-inch material here, okay? So you could probably saw some of the piercing we did here. So that's number one on the list here. This is why 1 inch is used as a benchmark. Number one, on standard systems without a zoom head, you have to peck pierce. What I mean by that, it means you got to slowly drill into the material because what happens is that the material will erupt too much and come back up to the head and you get a gigantic spatter spot, okay? We still get a spatter spot a bit here, but what we're doing here now is that I'm actually able to pierce in 4 seconds. Using a multi-step pierce, tightening up that beam for just the piercing, And then when it comes into the actual cutting, I widen the beam again. The zoom head allows us to dynamically change the beam as it's moving across the cut. So if this is a regular system here, let's say it would take significantly longer. If you go to peck piercing, we're talking easily up to 20 seconds of piercing, and that's going to take way too long, not be very productive at all. On this system here, we can cut no problem. As you can see the intensity of the beam there, you can barely even see the flames coming out the bottom. That's how much power and how much slag is being pushed out. We're actually cutting fairly fast here too. We're cutting at 35 inches per minute. 35 inches per minute on this material, no problem. Again, piercing through, get a good look at that. The head is able to maintain its standoff as well, despite that. Even if there's a bit of spatter in the way, the holes will still be cut. We got a lot of stability here. Coming around the corner here, no problem. We're just cutting some hooks here, and it's pretty amazing how stable this is. 35 inches per minute. It's no problem as the beam goes through this. With systems without a zoom head, we're at half the speed at best. I'm going to do a few more pierces here. Again, if I haven't said before, we're of course using oxygen when it comes to 1 inch. So we've gone through all 3 gases in our showcases. Still maintaining cutting, no problem, nice and stable. You can see how wide that kerf is because of our zoom head, widening or opening up the kerf there. The head is still maintaining over the slag. It's just some light slag on the sheet, doesn't affect the cut. Look at those parts, that's perfect. Pull them right out. Okay, so you're probably noticing I'm not holding a hook right now, and there's a reason for that. When you cut with 1 inch, it's so hot that it's probably going to be hot for the next 3 hours. So I have another part here that you saw in the footage as well that demonstrates the same thing, and this was cut a few days ago, so it's nice and cool now. But those hooks are so hot that I have to omit and go to another part to show you. But the idea remains the same. It's still a 1 inch part. We're still piercing. You see how small those holes are? No problem. These are about, I think they're 5/8, I believe, these holes. Maybe a little larger, maybe. Yeah, they're 5/8, about that. But this is a 1 inch part, cut very nicely. And on top of that, I didn't talk about one other thing, is the bevel. What I'm talking about bevel is that when you cut on a laser system where you have to use a larger nozzle without the zoom head, you get a lot of sway in your part. This part is very straight, so it makes welding a lot easier on a part like this, so you don't have to fill so much. It's quite an amazing part here.
And no adjustment required.
That's right. I mean, it's very stable as well because of the zoom head as well. Keeps everything nice and cutting fine. Very heavy part though.
I guess that's the beauty of it, yes?
That's right.
And I would like to mention a couple more things. A cutting part like this, having 5x10 table might be a choice. At the same time, at Durma, we can build any size of the table that you would require. So let's say if you currently have your plasma machine right now and you are impressed by the results, please inquire. We can again replace the plasma machine virtually with any size.
Cutting table.
With the cutting table, yes, with the laser.
That's right. That is a unique thing about Durma in an aspect, is that we will make custom bed sizes. We're not afraid to tackle that. We actually we can offer one of the biggest systems on the market where the actual gantry moves with the table. So
that is right.
We're very flexible on that. We're not limited on the sizes we can offer. We can offer very large laser systems, including systems that have automation on those sizes as well.
That is
towers.
correct.
So Durma is very unique. Durma's with Access Machinery is very unique in what we can offer regarding table sizes and automation, and of course features such as zoom head and 8 kilowatt, and now we're up to 10, going into 12 eventually. So it's kind of exciting what's coming down as well. That's right.
Well, I think we're pretty much done with the showcases.
That's right.
Right. Shall we move to the questions or?
Got some questions? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure there's quite a few questions, unless everybody's jaw's on the floor from the zoom head. But if you have any questions about how the zoom head works or how it helps you or anything like that, please ask us. So what do we got here?
Yeah, and I wanted also to mention that, again, because we are streamlining today from our customer's facility, our internet connection is not the best. And again, we do apologize for coming live not exactly at 10, but a few minutes later. But I think you use that time to get yourself a cup of coffee or something like morning drink that you prefer. You probably noticed that we don't use our cups anymore. Andrew, we should start using our...
Got to bring the cups back. That's right.
Yes.
The cups are coming back next time. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So let's take a look at these questions. That's right. Okay. So we got one from Irvin. What are the differences between zoom head and pro cutter head? Main differences to go with zoom head? Yes. Oh, absolutely. You're getting my favorite question right off the bat. Perfect. So we talked about before on our machine in the showroom on previous streams, we talked about 3 different heads now. So the first one was the pro cutter we talked about. Pro cutter has got a fixed focal length and a focal diameter. Oh, sorry, not focal length, it's got a fixed focal diameter. The lens can still move up and down automatically, but the beam size is fixed, okay? And that's great for thin materials. It can even do up to mid-thick, quarter, 3/8. It's still no problem for that head. But when you start going beyond that, we have to start changing things. Then the second head was the light cutter. The light cutter's got an even smaller spot size. And what I mean by that is the focal diameter, spot size.
125.
Correct, that's 125. So pro cutter's 150, light cutter's 125. Now zoom head, you know what it can do? Because of those 2 lenses, 125 up to 400. All of that, you covered every single head with one. That's why I am so excited about this kind of machine, because we go to thin materials, we sharpen that beam as much as possible, and we're cutting incredibly fast. Then we go to the thick materials, you widen that beam back open again, and you're cutting your thick materials incredibly fast. So it's amazing how the zoom head gives us so many different options, and being able to change it for the piercing, it's just an incredible feature, especially on higher kilowatt machines. I'd recommend it on 6 and up, absolutely. It's a great addition to have, especially if you're doing plenty of plate.
That is good that you mentioned about 6 kilowatt and up, because next question from Erwin is, can we use zoom head with the 4 kilowatt and 6 kilowatt? Well, you obviously can, but you're sort of losing the purpose, right?
Correct.
Because on the 4 kilowatt has a limit with the, it's 20 millimeters on the mile steel, which is...
20 millimeters is just below 1 inch, so that would be about 7/8. So with 7/8, so when you get to 4 kilowatt, what happens is that, of course we can put a zoom head on it for you, but you still need that laser power to actually travel through. Will it expand the top end of the 4 kilowatt cutting? Yes, of course it will, because it's still working on the same concept.
So I would say the recommended size for the zoom head will be 6 kilowatt power and up.
That's right.
Next question we have from Paul Thompson. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Paul.
What is the compressor setup cutting with air? Pressure flow, brand of compressor, horsepower of compressor, technology, rotary or piston compressor?
That's a lot of specs. So I don't know exactly everything about this compressor specifically. It is a piston compressor. It's 25 horsepower. I'm not 100% sure of the brand. There's no branding on it. It's kind of an independent system. But I know it can put out 200 PSI. Highly recommended to at least have 200 if you want to start getting into this kind of thickness of air cutting. Okay. It can push out about 3,000 CFH at absolute full load with constant run. And because of that 25 horsepower, it is able to maintain that. They are able to cut full sheets of stainless, and the compressor keeps up. It's working the entire time, but it's keeping up. So like if you want to start cutting that kind of thicker plate on these machines, I would say 25 horsepower is really your minimum. Unless if you have a rotary compressor, of course you're going to get more. But it's a very good technical question, and if you want more of those specs, I'll absolutely ask our customer here for every little detail on that, past the brief description I just gave about it.
Just to give you the comparison, let's say in our showroom we have a 10 horsepower compressor, and we still manage to cut with air. It's only 2 kilowatt machine though.
Yes.
Next question from Chris Morrison. Thank you, Chris. Which machines can you put
the zoom head
on?
So yeah, the zoom head.
You don't put it on the press brake, okay?
You can, I guess. I'm not sure what that would do for you, but it's a good question. We somewhat answer that, but yeah, I mean, 6 kilowatt and up fibers is where we recommend it. If you really want it on a 4, we can do that. But 6 kilowatt and up lasers, yes.
So just put a little bit of the classification here. I would say light cutter recommendation will be from 1 kilowatt up to 3. That would be a choice to go. From 3 kilowatt to 6 kilowatt, it will be Pressatec Pro Cutter. From 6 kilowatt, and we offer right now a power up to 12 kilowatt with the Durma. You still can go with the Pro Cutter. If you are cutting same materials, you know that your thickness will be pretty much in the range. You can choose the length, as Andrew mentioned, because this is still very strong head. At the same time, with the zoom head, you will be more versatile in terms of what you can do on your machine.
Correct. So I highly recommend zoom head on high kilowatt machines. Okay, next question.
What are the savings with the air cutting? I believe we briefly answered that question.
It's hard to do a gas analysis because gas contracts are negotiated per customer. But when I say savings, I can just give you CFH values. You know how much you'll go through, and then that's your saving. And that's why, got some air right there.
Yeah,
the compressor's working
from the
great.
compressor, yes.
That's right, purging because it's 200 PSI. Yeah, so the exact savings, I can draft it up. You would have to tell me what your gas prices are, and I can absolutely give you a comparison, say paper to paper. This is how much you're going to save with an air cutting system versus what materials you're cutting, how much you pay for your contracts, what's your delivery fee. There's just a lot of variables. I don't like to immediately throw out numbers, but I can say it's significant.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew.
So the next
I'm
one
so
is,
excited to be here today. Like those 3 weeks, I didn't know what to do on Saturdays.
I know. I was always looking forward to this, I know.
Yes. Next question is from Erwin again.
Do you have a linear motion system with this machine? And if we can add it, linear motion, I've got one of these questions, I love these. All right, so linear motion machines, yes, so this is the HDF. We have an HDFL for linear. And the linear system is significantly faster, and not just in traversing speed. Like this machine traverses very quickly. You saw in the showcase where it came very quick. It's still fast.
It's rack and pinion.
Correct, sorry, this is a rack and pinion system as opposed to the FL, which is a linear system. So this still does synchronous speed, XY, of 4,800 inches per minute. That's still very fast. When we go up to the linear system, we're up into the 7,000s now. But what the big one is the acceleration, and I haven't talked about that a lot, and I'll get into a brief detail, but essentially when you have parts that are more intricate, every time you turn the corner, you know the laser hesitates and has to pull its speed down, turn the corner. It's like a race car. You can't just go full speed around a corner. It's not going to work.
No, you can't?
You'll end up in the field. So with the linear system, what it'll do is that it can not only brake faster, but it can also start faster. So we call that acceleration. And the linear systems are really well suited for those who cut lots of very intricate parts. You'll see the time savings are absolutely amazing on that. And we can do a direct comparison if you want to see. For intricate parts, a linear system makes a big, big difference, even over kilowatt. Like you could take a 4 kilowatt and compare it to a 6. If you got the right parts, a 4 kilowatt will beat the 6 if it has linear because of how much that motion system can do.
We will have soon one of the lasers with the linear drive, so we will be happy to
show that
yeah,
one.
yeah. So we will show it. How many different types of cutting heads available with Durma? I believe we answered that question already.
Yes, thank you.
Next question, Irina, thank you for reminding me.
That's right.
You're very welcome. Yes, I will be in the showroom next week, so please come. I believe Andrew didn't use your barbecue. At least I didn't use yours.
I might have. We still have it, don't worry. But yeah, no, we absolutely have the barbecue. We still have it. And if you want to pick it up, you can come get it. And absolutely, we will have that ready for you. You assemble it, it's all yours. It's going to last a lifetime. It's full stainless steel. It sits nice and high up here. Or I can make the legs shorter and do travel size like you saw in the episode. I prefer the one that's higher because you can put it in your house. And
me too. It will be a pleasure to meet you. Please come. And one more question from Erwin. What is the fastest machine from Durma that we can order? What would you recommend us? What configuration, what power source would be? Well, every customer is a unique customer, and your application, it's only yours. So I would always start with probably seeing your drawings, what you're doing, and getting understanding where you would like to be with your production and business not only today, but in 3 years and 5 years. Because again, we see our equipment as a long-term investment. So we would like to make sure that machine will serve you the best, not only in the nearest future, but in the years to come. So I would propose to contact us and send us your drawings, and we will start from there with recommending which configuration and which power source would you use. Actually, mentioning about the Daymar, the Daymar also has, you don't see it on the screen because we have fixed camera, but Daymar has matching press brake to complement the laser. It's 10-feet brake, 240 tons. Just excellent to go with the laser.
That's right. But I wanted to answer Irvin's last part only because I'm a technical side. If you just want to know the fastest system, it's a 12 kilowatt with a 6G linear. So you can chew on that.
Excellent.
That's right.
Okay, great. I think we are wrapped up with the questions. Like, Andrew, just wanted to show you, like, we use our customer's facility and the table like looks a little bit used.
They cut a lot of plate here.
Like, what are we gonna do with that? Like, can we clean this mess somehow?
Yeah, so we have a slat cleaning system, and we're actually gonna do some slat cleaning here as well, and we're gonna have a nice little commercial, so I'll give you a sneak preview of that, but we're gonna demonstrate on this very bed right here, using the slat cleaner and how well it works. And what I mean by slat cleaner is a machine you'll push. We kind of teased that one a few episodes ago at Ranfar Steel. On that episode, I teased that there, and now we're into the next stages of it where the product is working exactly as intended. We've upgraded it even further, and I'm very excited to show you. So this bed we're going to clean, and as a little teaser for the next episode, you're going to see that.
Exactly like that, and I would like to also mention that any customer has a laser at their disposal. Slat cleaner is essential, simply because you can save life of your slats for a lot longer, so you can save money on the buying new materials to for your table.
It's also the cutting time.
Exactly, it's a cutting time.
There's a lot of factors there. It's not just the material cost, the cutting time, especially if you're running on very busy. Everybody's very busy. I've talked to right now. They're doing a lot of cutting, and so it doesn't just save the material, but it also saves you the cutting time, and you can keep reusing the slats over and over. So it's not just one slat replacement. You got to think about maybe 2 or 3 now, and that's what that kind of system does. So when you start putting in the numbers like that, you realize that the slat cleaner just becomes an essential system.
And we are also working on the slat cleaners for plasma machines, so stay tuned.
That's right.
It's still in the process, and I believe we came to the end of the episode. I would like to give you a sneak peek for the next week. It's going to be more on the software side. Because everybody knows that you want your machines to do the best for you. You also need to understand how to nest parts, how to process them, and
that's right.
Stay tuned next Saturday, 10 a.m. as always. We'll be very glad to see you guys. And in the meantime, we can go and enjoy the weekend.
That's right. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much.
See you. Thank you.